Hey, Chris Jenkins, credentialed member of the media, covering the Carolina Panthers for Charlotte Vibe, a.k.a. the man of the people, working in the Indianapolis Combine for you guys. First time that I'm working the Combine, and the promise all-season improvements continue for Charlotte Vibe. Hey, hit the like button. I want you all to get in the habit of doing that. Hit the like button right now. Help support independent media. I'm sorry for the tongue tie. You know, I like to be real and give you guys some behind-the-scenes media experiences and aspects of covering this team, so I'm going to give you some of that in a little bit. Probably tongue twisted a little bit because, man, I haven't been eating well since I've been here. And I know that's not football related, but I'm just saying, I'm trying to find the box. This is basically what your boy's been eating on here in the Combine. 2 days in a row, I have had vegan meals. And I'm not saying that vegan is the worst thing in the world for everybody, but for me, it's not my normal diet. I like protein, I like meat. Yesterday, I forget what it was that I had. Today, it was a Caesar salad. And I got hungry, went back, and had 2 Caesar salads. So a little bit of fatigue, but I'm going to give you a great show. But let me apologize for being a little bit late. Was trying to do some things with the lights, and originally I wanted to go at 2:05. We're here now. But nevertheless, let's go ahead and start talking about this Carolina Panthers and the Combine. Had an opportunity to talk with both Dave Canales, head coach, yesterday, one-on-one. Full video is on the channel, so check that out if you have not already done so, as well as a full video with one-on-one with General Manager Dan Morgan. I'm working for you guys, working for you. So also hit the subscribe button if you have not already done so as well. Panther Blazer, what's going on? Thank you for tuning in. So we're going to walk you through some things, all right? And possibly before the day ends, I will have some other journalists join me, giving you some more insights about their experience here at the Combine. But for now, it's me. I'm going to get you up to date. And the first things that we're going to talk about is our owner, David Tepper. Some people like him, some people don't. But let me tell you what he's been up to. He has decided that after a 2-15 season, that it is a good time for him to raise the prices on tickets for the Carolina Panthers. That's right. 2-15 means it's time to ante up, raise those prices. So prices are most affected by those in the lower bowl. So the people that already have pricey tickets, they're going to become pricier. Now the cheapest tickets to get in, I think it's around $5 something for those tickets. That's going to remain the same. But again, those lower bowl tickets are the ones that's going to be affected the most. Raising those tickets 4% on average throughout the stadium. And so, yeah, the cost of supporting your Carolina Panthers that have been not the best in recent years is going up. What about the timing of it? I don't think he cares. Will it work? Well, I think from a business perspective that unfortunately for us consumers, that the NFL is such an in-demand kind of thing. It's the #1 sport in America. I unfortunately don't think he's going to miss a beat. That there's going to be enough people out there that still wants to support this team or just will be able to absorb those costs. But I don't like it. You know, that's my 2 cents on it. Chris Johnson tuning in as well. What's going on, Chris? See if I can put this on the screen. How's it going? It's going pretty well. It's been a lot of challenges out here in Indianapolis covering this Combine, but I'll say that for another video. Once I get back to Charlotte, I'll go ahead and share some behind the scenes of what it's like covering the Combine, and it's a lot, but it's a good experience. Let's continue to move on through my notes here, and I may be a little not as quick as normal because normally I have many screens up so I can quickly get to information. Today I don't have that. I have to do it all from one screen, so bear with me as I sometimes look around, as I'm doing right now, to find out what I had next for you guys. I do know that I want to talk about the NFL Players Association and the survey that they do each year. This is their second year in doing this survey, in which they started the survey with the purpose of giving players some insight into what it's like to work at different companies. You know, like everybody else out there, hey, if I want to go work for this company or that company, I got a little bit of information. I know people I can ask them about it. But this was something that the NFL Players Association did really, started as a tool to help players know, well, hey, if you're considering this place, if you're considering that place, from a work standpoint, this is what you may expect. And I'm still struggling to get to my notes on this. Bear with me here. Man, the challenges of being one man. All right, there we go. Got my notes. Here we go. So I'm going to put for you on the screen the results of that survey, and it has some interesting things that we're going to talk about here. So let's go ahead and take a look at it. Treatment of facilities. So this one is a B, currently ranks 7th. The food and the cafeteria, it's a B, currently ranks 13th. Now, I will say this, in terms of the facilities, my most popular video out there on YouTube for many, many years now is when I gave you a walking tour of the facilities of the Carolina Panthers. There's been a minor change since I did that video, maybe 4 years ago. But if you haven't seen it, please go check that out. That'll give you an idea of what these players have: the cafeteria, have the weight room, the locker room, all that stuff's in that video on this channel. So be sure to go ahead and check that out. Nutritionist and dietitianist. Nutritionist, dietitian, B+, currently ranks 6. The locker room is a C+, and I'm going to share a little bit of more information about these rankings and why they got these rankings. So again, continue to bear with me as I get this right in front of me here. Let's see. Going to give you some more in-depth information about these rankings. So give me just a second. Meanwhile, you can continue to absorb what you see there. All right, so treatment of facilities. So let me go back a little bit because I want to be thorough. All right, I like to be thorough in what I'm doing and the information that I'm providing. So let's talk about that first ranking, which was the treatment of families, which they received a B. And treatment of families means they provide a family room at the stadium, and they also provide daycare on game days, the Carolina Panthers do. And a few players would like their family members to be able to get pregame sideline passes or be seated in better locations with the players' families. So that'll cover the treatment of facilities. We then had the food and cafeteria, in which they got a B. And for this one, the food program was an area of significant improvement for the Panthers from last year, but returning players said the food program in the cafeteria did improve, and they hired a new chef. So they're pretty happy with what's going on there. Next is the nutritionist and dietitian, B+. Players gave the dietitian the 3rd highest individual grade in the league. 80% of the players feel like they get an individualized plan, so they're happy with that on the nutrition. We're going to go to the locker room, which is a C+. Why do we have a C+? Well, the players feel like the locker room is big enough. 90% of the players feel like the locker room is big enough, and 83% of the players feel like they have enough room in their individual lockers. So that's good for those rankings right there. Next is the training staff. Training staff got an A-. It's pretty good. 93% of players feel like they receive enough one-on-one treatment, and the players feel like the training staff significantly contributes to their success on the team. We got a few more that we'll run through. Weight room, B. Strength coaches, an A. Team travel, a B-. By the way, strength coaches was their best ranking at 4th. Head coach, an A-. And here, the rating of ownership at a D. Again, the rating of ownership at a D. What do you guys think about that? Why did they rank the coaches as an A-, but then they gave your owner, David Tepper, a D? Pretty low grade. So it's not what you think. The biggest reason they gave him a D was because of the artificial turf that they now have at the stadium. They used to have grass turf, People like that. Players like that. They feel like it's more safe, a little bit more softer, feels more comfortable for them. But they weren't too happy that, a recent change ripped up the grass. Though he did a good thing with it, he donated it to, I'm not sure if he donated it to a park or to high schools, but now they play on turf. And turf is not well received. And I think my opinion of it is that he got a little bit of a rougher grade on this, particularly because of that turf, than others, because it's a recent change. People are like, hey, I like the old stuff. So there you have it there. Again, that ranking on the ownership was mostly because of the turf. Club owners, he got a 6.6 out of 10 from Panther players when considering his willingness to invest in the facilities. The major factor in the score was David Tepper's decision to change the field from grass to turf. And 100% of the players for the Carolina Panthers say they prefer the grass. Will we see a change? Do I think we'll see a change? I don't think so. He made that change so he can make more money, so he can have more concerts, so he can have more events outside of football, and he's happy with it. He's also raising prices because he wants more money. So right now it's like a lot of what we are feeling and experiencing from David Tepper is the mind of a billionaire, and they don't become billionaires by not making decisions that most importantly are about finances. So that's what we're seeing. Love it or hate it, that's what we're seeing. Let's go ahead and go back to a few of these comments here. Knucklehead K, hadn't seen you on in a while. Appreciate you always tuning in to say what's up. Thank you very much, Knucklehead K. General Chaos says our field turf has been an issue for a while now. Yeah, and about that field turf, it's certainly rougher, tougher, harder than grass, and it's certainly subject to temperatures changes, right? So if it's really hot, being on that turf is even more hot, and you can just feel the air, the heat coming up off that stuff. When it's cold, it gets really, really tough, really, really hard, really, really firm. So I think it was 2 years ago we had an extremely cold game, the coldest game in Charlotte, ironically when we were playing the Detroit Lions, and there were some issues with that turf and how it rated being so firm. So just an ongoing thing that we have to deal with here in Carolina. All right, so there's your updates. Again, prices raised for the Carolina Panthers as well as the NFL Players Association survey coming out, and there you see the rankings. So now going to get you up to date with a little bit more about Dave Canales and Dan Morgan. Dan Morgan was first up talking with the media yesterday, and I also had a chance to speak with Dan. So I'm going to play a clip. One thing that I have had a question about, a lot of you have had a question about, and so again, I keep putting on my hat, man, to the people. I got to earn that title. How do I do that? Well, I got to ask the question that you all want to know and have answers to, and that has been, okay, we have Dan Morgan. Now, we like Dan because he was a former player. He seems like he's not going to be a guy that just does what Tepper says. It seems like he's going to be a guy that gives his opinion. I mean, he still has a boss to report to. But what difference are we going to get with Dan Morgan than we got with Scott Fitterer, since they were both in the room together and they were both, he was under Scott. So I asked him that question. I'm going to play for you Dan's response to, hey, how are you not going to be a clone of Scott? So let me get that queued up for you guys. Here we go.
I wouldn't really call myself his understudy.
Okay.
I started out in Seattle, as an intern and worked my way up to where I'm at now. So I started from the, ground bottom under John Schneider. Scott Fitterer was out there in Seattle.
Yeah.
Spent my career, first 7 years of my career out there as a pro scout, doing advances, and then I get hired to Buffalo under Brandon Beane and Joe Shane,
Yep.
who are both, really good GMs at this point. And then got hired, to Carolina as the assistant GM, what was 3 years ago. So I think I've learned from a lot of really good people, a lot of talented evaluators, and really good guys on the business side. So I feel those experiences have gotten me ready for this.
So there you have it, a little bit of an excerpt from the interview that I had with Dan Morgan yesterday, saying that he don't quite call him the understudy of Scott. He's had a lot of experience in a lot of different areas from a lot of different people, and he's taken all that and he's going to give it, his best shot to make this team successful for the Carolina Panthers. So nice little excerpt from Dan. Struggling a little bit today on one computer screen versus having multiples, but right now it's the combine. Yesterday we had a chance to talk with coaches and GMs and coaches. Today was talking with prospects. Tomorrow is when the combine really gets underway with the actual testing of the players on the field. And then April you're going to have the draft. So there's a little bit of time between now and the draft in April. Dan spoke about his method for the draft and how they're going to be doing it. Will it be best player available? Will it be what do we need? Well, let's say he's going to go with best player available, and if it's close, best player versus the need, well, then they're going to go to the need first in that regard for what they're taking. Brian Burns, talked to him about that situation as well. Everything's on the table right now for Brian Burns. We got a lot of free agents, but he is the most coveted free agent that we have, Brian Burns. What are we going to do? Possibility of extending him, possibility of signing him, possibility of franchise tagging him. I asked specifically, is there a possibility that you would franchise tag him and trade him? Are you taking calls for that? A little thing that Scott Fitterell would say if he's in on all calls. So we said, not yet. Not yet are we saying that we're going to be taking calls for a tag and trade. But what they're going to be doing this week is meeting with Brian Burns' people here in Indianapolis and talking to them and seeing how close they can get. Now they have, I think at this point, a week. I think it's next Tuesday is that date where the franchise tag period ends. So we're going to have some more breaking news one way or the other by that time. And that's pretty much it. Again, spoke with Dan about the draft. He said with the players getting started tomorrow, it's really for them. They've been building their draft board for a while now. They've been going through that with their scouts. And right now what they're going to do at the combine is it's going to be a time for the GM himself, Dan, and the other coaches to now talk with these players that their scouts have been writing the stories about and see a little bit more about that man they may be considering for the team. I'm going to check out the comments real quick before I continue on. Willie Smith here talking about the earlier comment on the NFL Players Association and their rankings for, it was like coaches. What coaches are they talking about? Well, they didn't specify which coach it was, but I'm going to assume that it was Frank Reich, as he was a coach for most of the year. Jack says, how was your interview with Dan and from a personal perspective? Good question, Jack. So from a personal perspective, it was interesting. So I actually was going to be on the plane ride to Indianapolis with Dan leaving Charlotte the other day, and there was a chance for me to talk with him there. So for the interview with him, I felt like it was a little bit more relaxed and personal because I actually had a chance to speak with him just a couple of days ago, and he mentioned that before he sat down and had the interview. So that's always great when you have the opportunity to speak with, have a little bit of a personal relationship. I won't say it all personal, but just have spoken with the person before you sit down with them. With Dave, I had not yet had a chance to speak with him one-on-one for him to really know who I was. So it was different in that respect because you're trying to gain that rapport. It's also why you kind of ease into tougher questions with a player or coach, is waiting to get a little bit more trust and relationship building going there. And with Dave, it was a little bit more pressure because the PR team, he only had 5 minutes. He was making his way through a lot of rounds. I'm talking to you guys from Media Row right now, but Dave had just come from an interview with CBS, and he had to go to an interview to my left at this moment with another Tampa station. So we had a huge team of people with him, unlike Dan, who only had like a couple of people with him. And Dave had cameras and all this stuff. So from a personal perspective, the interview with Dan was a little bit easier for those couple of reasons, and with Dave it was a little bit more challenging because of the time and all the people that he had around him. But appreciate the question, Jack. James with a comment on the price increase. My problem with the price increase is the product on the field, hard to justify raising the prices. Yeah. Sorry, it's this person to the right of me that just so much looked like Matt Rule for a second, and I was just going to be baffled that that was the case. But the price increase the time is bad. You're right. 2-15 on the field. Oldest stadium, one of the oldest stadiums in the league. Hasn't been a good product, period, since he's bought the team. He hasn't had the most positive public relations things that have been happening recently. You know, the most recent thing he had was throwing the cup on the fan in Jacksonville. So you look at all the negative, and then you raise the price. It doesn't seem to be that he is taking advantage of opportunities to connect with the fans. Connect with the fan in the sense of saying, like, I know this is tough. I mean, you can say you know this is tough, but, you know, the NFL is making a lot of money. The cap went up recently. It didn't go up because they're struggling. Organizations are. They're doing extremely well. So it went up, I think, I don't have it right in front of me, from about, I forget what it was from, but it's at 255, and I think it went up about 30 million. So I think previously it may have been about 225. So you had a $30 million increase in the cap. Why? Because they're making so much money. So did he have to do this? I kind of feel like he did. There's my 2 cents on that. Got some positive comments from Knucklehead K. Think the interview went pretty well yesterday. Appreciate the comment there. General K says, Chris, do you think it's possible that we trade Burns to get back into the first round? He's only 25. So I think it's possible because, well, the first step is they're going to see how close they can get in talks right now this week with Brian Burns. I don't know how close they're going to be able to get, but if they're not able to get close, well, then absolutely you still want to do everything you can to not lose like your second best asset, because right now obviously your quarterback is your number one asset. He's the franchise. He dictates so much. But franchise tag him and then start seeing what calls you can get to move on up. Don't lose that guy for nothing. Absolutely. All right. We're going to continue to work through some things. Been away from the family for a few days, and my wife just sent me a wonderful picture of my daughter. Isn't that awesome? Hey, once again, if you're new to the channel, you got to know that I'm a personal sharing guy. Look at that beautiful picture right there. That's the baby girl, 4 months old. Anyway, I love connecting with you guys. That's what you get here at Charlotte Vibe. Connection. You have a friend in the media on Charlotte Vibe. Let's continue to go through some more reporting for you guys, all right? I say guys as a habit. I hope that's not offensive to any of the ladies that are watching. I'll try to get more politically correct, say guys and girls, or maybe you guys can give me a tip on how to address that. But nevertheless, let's keep going through this. Dave Canales as well was able to talk with the media yesterday. He also sat down one-on-one with me, so I know a lot of you hoped that that would happen. It did happen. Again, that link is on the channel to go ahead and check out that video in full. But right now I'm going to play a clip for you. And my question to Dave is, what can you do most to help Bryce Young in this next year?
Best thing I can do is continue to develop the offense, you know, just to get a really well-rounded, intelligent style of offense, you know, built around the run game and the play actions and things that come off of that. And then just your normal year 2 improvement, we got to get better with our footwork. We got to get better with our progressions. That'll be something that I'll be harping on with him for the entirety of our time together. So just him getting used to my style of communication and also, for myself, just getting used to the way that he can communicate and let me know what he needs from that standpoint too.
Can I? All right, so there you go. More information, all right? Got to get better with his footwork, better with his progressions. Got to have some more out of the run game. He said that he is going to be such a stickler for a few things. One of those being the run game, having a run game. Not saying that we had the worst run game. It was pretty darn good with Chuba. Miles Sanders is to be determined. But, I mean, Dan did say yesterday that Chuba's going to be our guy. But with that, he mentioned the other day on the podium about the fact that if you want to make a deep run into the playoffs, you got to have a run game because that pass defense just gets so much better as you progress through the playoffs. And he said, look at all the teams. When it was 8, it got tough. When it was 4, it got even tougher. Super Bowl, it continues to be tough. So having a run game is something that he's going to by all means try to have as a pivotal part of the game plan. Play action will be something that he tries to do as well. Bootlegs, things to give Bryce a little bit more time. And Bryce is going to be on the clock. A big ingredient that he feels that's needed is being able to get the ball out of your hands quick. For him, it's specifically 2.7 seconds. Now, obviously, when they're going deep passes, deep balls, and some plays, it'll be more time. It might be 3 seconds, it might be 4 seconds, because you can't go deep in just 2.7. But he understands that, and he wants to make sure that he gets a good relationship with Bryce because he's going to be hard on him. He sounds like he has plans to say, I'm going to be candid. I need to tell you exactly what's going on. But he also needs to understand Bryce. So though right now they can't get into much X and O's conversation, he is right now saying, hey, I'm talking to Bryce a couple times a week, just trying to get to know one another, know his story, let him know my story, so that he can have that ability to coach him hard and get him to do the things that he needs to do. Went on a little bit more to talk about Bryce needing to understand that his footwork may be different depending on who's running the route. That's also something that the wide receivers are going to have to buy into and understand as well, what they're needing to do on their routes, and Bryce is going to have to understand. Let me get a little bit of water here. Bryce is going to need to understand that Mingo may run a 10 and out a little differently than Chark may run a 10 and out. That LaVisca may run, etc. Terrace Marshall, whoever's on this team. So those are some things. And here at the Combine, what are they looking to do? They're looking to improve the roster. Man, let me take some more drink of this water. I'm sure somebody out there is making fun of my voice, but an advantage that he feels like he has with this team is that he doesn't have a lot of emotional attachment to guys. And as he goes to make decisions and talk with Dan about the player personnel, he's going to be pretty clear and pretty unattached into the emotional part of saying, this guy's best to be here. We can improve on this position. So unfortunately, this guy no longer works here. And he says that he's committed to doing that, not just this year, but every single year. That's the approach that they have to take, is making this roster the best roster, because that's what gives the team and the organization ultimately the best opportunity to win, is having the best players on your roster and getting the most out of those players. Okay. Really adamant about his staff. Canales wants his staff to know what each player needs and be able to put each player in that best position to succeed in every aspect of what they can need, from nutrition to training to just anything that they need. So that's something he's going to be adamant about with this team and with his coaching staff. So that's the latest from the Combine here in Indianapolis. I'm on Media Row. Got about another hour that I'll be here. So there's a little bit of a chance that I'll be able to have some other reporters join me, tell you some of their insights and observations from here at the Combine. I have that invitation going out to them, but a lot of these guys have some deadlines that they're trying to push stuff out. So I'm not exactly sure if I'm going to be able to get them on before I get out of here. See if I got any text updates from any guys that may be able to join me before I get out of here. Just to let you all know. Nope, no updates there. So I'm going to go ahead and also take a look at some of these comments before I get out of here. From Red Raleigh says, my daughter's beautiful. Thank you very much. Yeah, that was rough, right? My wife sending me that picture. Let's see. Knucklehead Case says, will you be able to actually watch the combine while you're there so you could give feedback on what you see? So I will actually be leaving tonight from Indianapolis, headed back to Charlotte. I've been here since Monday morning. Combine, those activities start tomorrow. I will not be here. I could technically be there. I do have that ability, but I will be going back home to the family. So I'm going to be watching that. NFL Network pretty much shows the entire workout. So I'll be glued to the NFL Network to watch that, and certainly will continue to bring you all some updates based on what I'm seeing there. Thanks for the question, Knucklehead. Sorry if you said that already. Had a phone call miss. No, I hadn't said that already. Appreciate the question. I love the interaction. That's what this is all about. Wow, we have entered year 2 of the Chuba era. We need more Chuba, less Sanders. Yeah, they're not saying whether or not they don't believe in Sanders anymore. They're not going to use him. But right now, and Dan was the one who said that Chuba was going to be the guy. Dave wasn't saying that so much, but I'd be shocked if Chuba's not the guy. Why would you not have Chuba as the guy? But you certainly want to see some competition from Miles with that contract that he has. Possibly put him in a position to where he could be traded, even though he has a contract that I'm not sure anybody's going to want to take up. So that's what you have there with Chuba and Miles Sanders. I'll give you all a second to see if there's any more questions that come on before I get off of here. Got a lot of likes, so appreciate that. Always will invite you to do that. That helps other Panther fans find out about the channel. That's always appreciated. We do have our memberships that's out there and available, independent media, so we're 100% supported by you all. Anytime that you have the opportunity to contribute and join us, that is great and appreciated. All right, so it looks like no other questions have come through. Again, make sure you have your alerts turned on, because there still is a chance that I may have one person join me before I get out of here, so you won't want to miss that. That's it for now. I'm Chris Jenkins for Charlotte Vibe at Indianapolis Combine.